Hey everybody, welcome to Sportmanic. With the new NBA draft insight and terrible clubs preparing for the draft lottery, we'll look back at some previous drafts to examine who the best players ever selected at each draft position are. Before we continue, kindly hit the notification button to be notified when next I post new videos. Let's get started without further ado. When we talk about the first pick in the draft, there's something mythological about it. It's almost like winning a championship. The happiness and optimism surrounding the franchise is usually so palpable that it's almost like winning the lottery, even though winning the draft lottery and winning two very different things on one end of the spectrum with the first pick. Lebron James. On one side, there are Hall of Famers like Hakeem Shaq and Anthony Bennett, as well as players who did not live up to their promise because of injuries, such as Ralph Sampson and Greg Oden, Kareem Tim Duncan, who were all in the top 10 and 15 players in NBA history, but the best first pick in NBA history has to be the one chosen in the 2003 NBA draft, wearing an oversized white suit straight out of high school. Yes, we're talking about LeBron James, who has reached the finals 8 times in a row and has 3 titles in all. LeBron was and still is unquestionably the best player of his generation and the biggest star off the court, all with establishing charity foundations, donating to schools, raising awareness for athletes and the underprivileged, and all without a single scandal on or off the court. Kevin Durant. Second choice, even less frequently than the number 1 pick, the number 2 pick in NBA history has turned down less frequently than perhaps any other draft pick in the lottery. Darko Milicic is embarrassed to have beaten Derek Williams and Michael Beasley in this century, as well as Len Bias and Sam Bowie. In the previous one, the number 2 choice was frequently a curse rather than an asset. There have been some correct choices such as Isaiah Thomas in 1981, Gary Payton in 1990, and Jason Kidd in 1994, but the best of those guesses, despite what some OKC fans may believe, was Kevin Durant, who was drafted in 2007 and was always ready to take over, easy money shooter, and his IG handle is often second to LeBron in MVP votes, losing in finals and largely considered the second best player in the world for half a decade by his admission. Durant was weary of being second and he was tired of OKC's slow offense and always being double-teamed, so he engineered the infamous next chapter in his career, which was met even more harshly than LeBron's decision 6 years previously, but in retrospect, it was the perfect move. Durant needed Golden State and then needed him. Those two pull up 3-pointers against the Cavs in 17 and 18 finals in which they truly won the game for the Warriors. And ironically, Durant has splashed them right in LeBron's face and won 2 final MVP medals. Some may still refer to him as a snake or a cupcake, but Kevin Durant is a 7-foot guard who has turned out to be one of the finest scorers in NBA history and is deservedly on the list. Michael Jordan. As the best number 3 choice ever, there is no debate about who that guy is. Of course, Michael Jeffrey Jordan. His airness is dark. Michael Jordan was drafted 3rd and one of the best drafts in history in 1984. As soon as he stepped on the court, he was a different person than anyone else. Thanks to Dean Smith, he came into the league fundamentally sound, and when you combine it with a 48-inch vertical and a killer mentality, you have sheer and utter dominance on the court. Jordan became the first basketball global superstar, the man who pushed the boundaries of the sport and made a ton of money for himself. The league and the players who came after him, everyone wanted to be like Mike. If he was at any point the most famous athlete on the planet, and when you think that the Portland Trail Blazers chose Sam Bowie over him, you gasp a little, just to wonder why. Russell Westbrook. This was a toss-up between Westbrook and Chris Paul, who were chosen in 2005 and 2008 respectively. Both Paul and Russ play the point guard position, but in very different ways. Russ plays it with force, unrivaled agility, and a motor that knows no other speed than going 100 miles per hour. Paul plays at various speeds, sometimes fast and sometimes slow, depending on how the defense reacts to the computer in his head, which earned him the moniker Point God. Both are tough competitors with a desire to win above all else. But despite their numerous triumphs, neither has won a title, and deciding who's better between these two numbers 4 picks is not an easy task, and it's purely subjective if I had to choose. I'm picking Westbrook because he was healthier throughout his career, and for those last 3 seasons where he averaged a triple-double, which we thought we'd never see again after Oscar Robertson, and then this man does it 3 times in a row, which is mesmerizing. However, if you like Chris Paul's point guard panache and his superior shooting decision-making and defense despite being smaller in size, I'm not going to argue. Dwyane Wade. If you thought picking the best number 4 choice was difficult, you're in for a treat with the finest number 5 pick ever. Many All-Stars and Hall of Famers have been taken at number 5, from Clyde Frazier to Charles Barkley, Allen, Ray Carter, Vince Scottie Pippen, and Kevin Garnett. It's difficult to choose the best number 5 pick ever because it's difficult to compare greatness, especially if they play different positions. But we're going with the number 5 chosen in 2003 by the Miami Heat, wearing number 3, winning 3 championships, and being the 3rd best guard after Michael Jordan and Kobe Bryant. Dwyane Wade was an amazing beast. He won less than Scottie and wasn't anything like the shooter that Ray Allen was. He didn't jump like Vince, and his peak didn't endure as long as Garnett's, but when he was at his finest, when he was flash, he was the best of all the mentioned players. The Finals MVP in 2006 brought the Heat their first championship in a Jordan Husk manner, averaging 36 points in the series. He could have easily won the MVP in 2009, that went to Lebron, and should have won the MVP Finals in 2001 if Flash Braun hadn't shot so poorly in the series against the Mavs, because he hadn't had a meniscus since college. His prime was cut short due to constant knee issues, but if you were lucky enough to watch him at his best, you'd always remember that Dwyane Wade was the Flash, a superhero in a red uniform. Larry Bird entered in 1978 NBA draft intending to stay 1 more year in college, which caused him to drop. But the old fox Red Auerbach understood what kind of player was in front of him and had no problem waiting 1 year for Larry. When they asked Michael Jordan who he would trust to take the last shot in a game with his life on the line, he said Larry Bird. And that's probably the best compliment you can get. Larry was one of the best players ever, and his rivalry with Magic Johnson breathed new life into the NBA league, which had been severely harmed by scandal in the 1970s. Bird won 3 MVPs in a row, something only he and Bill Russell did. And even though Magic won 5 championships, he won 3 because he was a more complete player, a better scorer, a beautiful trash talker, and a guy who often looked like he drives a truck and cuts wood, for it's ironic that the finest shooter of all time. Stephen Curry. Steph was heavily questioned when he entered the draft, although his father Dell was an NBA veteran, and Steph advanced to the Elite 8 in the NCAA tournament younger. Curry was considered too weak and small to succeed in the pros. Stephen proved the doubters wrong, even though he's usually the smallest guy on the floor. Steve, alongside his splash brother Clay, altered the way basketball is played. His ability to shoot over 40% from 3 off the catch and the dribble is amazing, and the way he forces the defense to pick him up as soon as he steps into half court has never been seen before. He was named the league's first unanimous MVP in 2016. With 402 made threes in a season, he broke his record by more than 100 threes. Robert Parish. Johnny Flynn made 118 three-pointers during his NBA career, which ended in 2014, after a couple of poor seasons. Nice job. Minnesota number 8s. Among the players chosen in number 8, none was as consistently good as Robert Parish. For that matter, nobody in the league was as consistent as Robert Parish, who was at the time an NBA leader in games played in a calm and reserved manner. Parish was frequently overshadowed by his colleagues Larry Bird and Kevin McHale, who will be the first to tell you that they couldn't have won without the big fall inside a chief. He was one of those men that went quietly about their business but always got the job done. Dirk. Here is a 9-time All-Star, 4-time NBA champion, and star of One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest, was rated one of the finest players in 1996 and deserved it. In the 1990s, the world was a different place. European players entering the NBA was seen as inferior, and we were sometimes denied the same opportunities as players from the NCAA. No one knew anything about them. There were no mixtapes, mock drafts, or EuroLeague games available. If more people knew Dirk, he was going to score over 30,000 points and become the first European MVP in league history. He would have been selected higher than the number 9 spot, and you'd be wrong if you think that the Dallas Mavericks drafted him. Dirk was drafted by the Milwaukee Bucks, who traded the slow, blonde German to Dallas in what proved to be the worst trade in their franchise history, Paul Pierce. One spot after the Bucks selected Dirk, the Boston Celtics selected Paul Pierce with the 10th pick in 1998. And unlike the Bucks, they made the right choice and stuck with Pierce, who became one of the best players in Celtics history and a fan favorite. Ray Howland and Scott Kevin Garnett Pierce were considered good players on bad teams and was never fully credited for his play when the Big Three formed in. Pierce established himself as one of the most clutch and cold-blooded players in the league and won the Finals MVP in 2008 against Kobe Bryant and the Lakers. He gave us many battles against LeBron called the game for the Wizards, before eventually kissing the Celtics floor for one last time in 2016. That's all for today, folks. Thank you for spending some time with us. And if you found this video interesting, make sure to hit the like button and the notification bell and subscribe to our channel to get more access to interesting videos from us. Thank you so much. Until next time.